Hi, just wanted to make a quick video on how I did a fairly easy repair on a Mackie SRM150 monitor. This is the speaker here. After I owned it, I didn't use it too much but every time I'd take it out to use it, the main pot, which would be right here, but I removed it. That's another story. The main pot was scratchy, and if you moved it, turned it, it would actually pop really loud in the speaker. So I figured, well, the pot's bad, and that's fine, and that's what it was. But getting the pot was a little tricky. That part is not available from Mackie any longer. And I checked around from other sources, and that part was not available anymore. But what I did was I did a little bit of research, and I went to my handy dandy DigiKey. They're out of Minnesota. They're one of the biggest part suppliers in the country, probably the world, for electronic part supply. And I found the pot. So it's this pot right here. It's a Panasonic, and you can read the number there. That's the pot. And it's also the number 3 pot in case the RCA jack pot. This one right here. And I did that by finding the parts list online. I just Googled the parts list for this unit. So this pot, the main pot, and this pot are the same pot. These two are different, completely different pots. But anyway, so if you're having an issue with this speaker, I'm going to show you what you need to do to repair it. So the first thing is you need to remove the knobs on each of the pots. This one, I actually pulled the shaft out, but that's fine. I can put it back in. I've already done it twice. So you need to remove the knobs. Here are the knobs after I removed them. Here's the one with the shaft. You just put it back in, and as long as you put it back in the same position, I had mine fully off, you're fine. So anyway, here's the pot that was bad. This is the one that I pulled out of the circuit board. And here's the one that I just ordered from DigiKey and just got it in. And I got an extra one just in case. So the first thing you're going to do for the repair is see all these screws here on the front. You do need to remove all of them. And these 4 small ones are Allen heads. And then there's some small Phillips. There's 5 small Phillips, 4 small Allen heads, and then 4 large Phillips. I've already removed 2 of them, but anyway. So once you get that out, I'll show you what you need to do next. So once you get the 4 Phillips head, the big large Phillips heads out, this board actually pulls right out. The bottom part of the board here catches on the plastic, so you're going to have to mess with it to get it to pull up. But after that, it's pretty easy. So then the next step is to take off all the other smaller screws, and then this whole faceplate lifts off the board. You can't take the board out because you're going to want to remove this whole assembly from the unit to do the repair. You're going to have to, because this faceplate has to come off. This faceplate has to come off to do the repair. So I'm just going to remove these screws, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so once you get the other screws off, the smaller screws, you lift this plate off. It just lifts right off. You have the exposed circuit board there. So then the next step is to you need to remove these 3 connectors. They just pull right out. You might have to wiggle them a little bit, but they just pull right out, and then the circuit board will be completely free from the unit. Oh, one other thing. This ground lead needs to be put. It's just on a quick disconnect, so this just pulls right up and pulls off. So here's the unit. I just pulled the connectors off and pulled this off. You just leave it like this. This is just how it's going to be. Here's the circuit board. I don't know if you're really good at soldering. I'm just going to give you a little advice on removing this part. They're probably almost guaranteed they're using lead-free solder. So if you can get lead-free solder ahead of time, you're going to save yourself a lot of hassle. Because that just makes the whole removal of a part and putting the other part back in much easier. So, but there is a way around that. You can just if you start with a clean iron, if your iron tip is very clean, you can remove the part with silver solder and then use normal solder to put the part back in, and it goes in here. It's a multi-layer board, so you end up having to use a fair amount of heat to remove this. I ended up cutting the small potentiometer leads on the pot to get it out, and then I just pulled the pot out and then pulled each lead out one at a time. That's a common practice and rework, because just to be able to heat up all the leads enough to get the solder clean is pretty tough. But anyway, so putting the pot back in will be much easier. Okay, so I replaced the pot. It was not bad at all. Like with anything, when you remove a part, and I was going from, I didn't have any lead-free solder, so the best thing to do is to completely remove from everything. This is the type of pot that actually, the base of the pot, this part, the metal part, is actually soldered into the board too. It makes it structurally really strong, and then the three contacts are there. But anyway, remove all the lead-free solder first. Use a solder sucker or solder wick, whatever, and then put the new pot in, and then you can use lead solder, and it solders fine. But you can't really mix the two. That's what you want to avoid. That's what I'm saying. And the other handy thing too is that these connectors here, these three connectors here, do not pull very far out of the back of the unit. So when you remove it, you basically remove it like right where it is now, sitting in the unit. Remove these, just push them out, they move out, and then when you put them back in, it's a little trickier. You got to kind of align them with the screwdriver and then push them in with the board sitting just like this, and then the board will go in much easier. So I think I'll have one more little finishing part to the video, but that's basically it. I just got to button this back up and screw it back together. So this is just the final part of the video. You're going to save yourself a ton of money. I mean, obviously buying a brand new speaker is going to cost you, these are like going for like $250, $270 or something now. The pot itself only costs, it was less than $5. Mackie will sell you this entire circuit board assembly with everything for $94. So this is a really cheap fix for this, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had this problem with the scratchy main pot on these. It really made the speaker completely useless, because you turn it and it would go pop, pop, like super loud, so you couldn't use it on the stage. I'm just using it in my home. So anyway, so the steps are, I'll just run through the steps real quick, this will save you a lot of hassle, is obviously remove the knobs, remove all the screws on this face plate. You're going to remove the plate itself, remove the plate, and then the three connectors up top and the ground lead that's right here, remove that, and then the circuit board will be completely free, and you can work on it. And then when you're putting it back, it's going to be the opposite. And don't do like I did. Don't forget the ground lead in there. Make sure you do the three connectors and the ground lead, and then put the plate back on. Put the small plate screws back on, and then put the whole unit back in. It's a little tricky getting it in and out, but it's actually not that bad of a repair, and I saved myself a ton of money over buying a new one or replacing this entire unit. Okay, take care. Just a public service video.